Kick the tires and light the fires. Do it. I just needed a little mix up. I kind of like the throwback idea concept, the whole thing. I want this logo right here. It's center of the goddamn field. I want it right in the middle of the field.
It'll look good, man, if they do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just badass, dude.
I went the other direction and completely went lazy and haven't put my green screen up for the last 2 weeks and just went straight stock room background. So
it's a well put together room. It's nice.
There's some brown stuff floating around back there. You know, you get to see my guitars and shit. So anyway, all right, guys, we're gonna get into it. Not a super heavy week in terms of news on the Browns front, but there are a few items we can touch on, and we're gonna lead off talking about Jadeveon Clowney. So he's pretty much dominated the news this week with the Browns, even though there hasn't been a lot of movement or momentum with him and the Browns. But like I said, he's been at the forefront of the news. And although they haven't signed him, it does seem like there's a little bit of steam rolling towards the Browns, maybe bringing him on board. Ian Rappaport, has said that there is mutual interest on both sides to get a deal done. In terms of Jadeveon Clowney himself, the guy being a 3-time Pro Bowler, there's been a little bit of concern with injury. Obviously, I think it's kind of in the same cloth as the J.J. Watt escapades that we went on here a month ago or so. But there's no doubt when the guy's healthy and he's on the field that he is a force to be reckoned with. And I don't know, you got to check your pulse if you don't salivate at the idea of him teaming up with Myles Garrett on that defensive line for the Browns. Again, the injuries a little bit concerning. The guy's played 83 games out of a potential 112 games, so he's missed 29 games in his career. I guess let's talk about him for a minute. I want to get your guys' thoughts on him joining the Browns and maybe what you see that looking like. Jeremy, we're going to kick it off with you since you are the esteemed, honored guest here.
Well, so, yeah, I mean, all the things that you said about Jadeveon Clowney, all the worries, all of that is real. I mean, can he stay on the field? I mean, I feel like he's gotten better against the run over the last couple of years, but has he gotten worse against the pass, like rushing the passer? So, yeah, I mean, I'm fine with him coming in, but the Browns are in a situation that, I mean, obviously we've never seen before, where people are taking less money to come here. So if we're looking like that, in that range, like, yeah, I'm fine with it. And neither him, like if he comes in, he wouldn't have to be the guy, obviously, with Myles Garrett.
Right.
And then with Takk McKinley rotating in over there, you don't need either one of them. They both have some stuff they need to work on. So having them both on the other side to rotate in and neither one of them having to be that guy, I think would be huge. But the money obviously has to be right.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, with everything said, except, I don't know, let's look at the peak of the career and say, who's better, Jadeveon Clowney or Olivier Vernon? All right.
I mean,
I'm just being like, yeah, he's had 3 Pro Bowls, but I think it's all the credit that Clowney has gotten has been off the same play in college. He was drafted on that play in college. His ceiling was that play in fucking college. And I'm not saying I don't want him here. All right. Yes. Would I like to have him here? I sure would. Absolutely. But I'm going to say it's kind of the same thing with J.J. Watt. If Clowney ends up not coming here, it's because the Browns chose for him not to be here. They weren't going to meet his demands. And it's not a need thing. Understand this, Jadeveon Clowney. We don't need you.
Right.
We would like to have you. It's a benefit for you to come here because there's no place else in the NFL you can go to right now and have someone on the other side of the field like Myles Garrett.
That's accurate.
So
it's 100% accurate right there.
The original deal we offered him last year was like it was in the neighborhood, I think it was 3 years, 50-something million. And he told us to go fuck ourselves and went to Tennessee played 8 games or something like that and got a microfracture injury, I think it was.
Yep.
We're not in that fucking neighborhood right now. It's going to be like 2 years, 30 million with 16 million guaranteed or some shit. It's obviously I think it's got to be lower than that in terms of guaranteed money, but it's going to be a 2-year deal, and it is going to be team friendly, especially because he's coming off an injury.
Yeah.
But understand this, it doesn't fucking make or break this defense.
Absolutely not.
It gives you a little less flexibility in the draft, where if you don't get Clowney, you can bet your ass in the first 2 picks they're taking an end. You know what I mean? If they do get Clowney, well, then they can kind of, go directly off their board and not really have to look at the need spot, which is a huge fucking deal in the draft. So, I mean, I would like Jadeveon Clowney here, but do we fucking need him? Absolutely not.
I like what you brought up in terms of, I think that's the mindset now with the Browns is there was once a time for quite a long time that players held the Browns over the barrel because we didn't have anybody. We needed everybody. We sucked, yada, yada, yada. Now the roles are reversed in that. And, Andrew Berry said it multiple times. I think it fits within their guardrails as well. We're looking through free agency to bolster the roster, bring in help, to an already solid core. So the mindset is much different from Browns teams of past. And you're right, Rich. He had his opportunity to get a pretty decent deal with the Browns, and he balked at it. So if he does want to come here, it's going to be for less. It's going to be for less now. So I'm in the same boat, guys. Like I said, I do think he would be a good force to team up with Myles Garrett. But then again, every fucking defensive end we've talked about bringing on this team is going to be a good force to team up with Myles Garrett. I mean, anyone really that you put over there is a good force to team up with 95 because he's fucking Myles Garrett. So I think, in terms of driving that defensive line, the main thing is we have Myles Garrett, and then anyone else is really a complimentary piece. You bring up OV, man, and he's one guy which, I would have liked to see stick around for sure.
Look, straight up, he may have been the most underappreciated Browns defensive player last year.
Yeah.
Considering with everything he did, he was fucking phenomenal against the run. And when Myles got hurt, you notice his pass rush picked up a little bit. And that's a guy that's like self-aware, like, all right, we're missing a fucking all-world guy on the other side of the field here. That's a team guy. I've got to step up and do some different shit. And he fucking did. Like, look, if he comes back, I would like to. It's not out of the realm of possibility that he's like a late year fucking signing. Like a playoff run signing after he recovers from the Achilles and ends up coming back here, regardless whether Clowney's here or not. Like, that's not
mutually exclusive.
Yeah, it doesn't fucking matter. But I could really see that fucking happening. He's getting up there in years. He's a little bit older. He's not old. You know what I'm saying? And he would take probably some fucking player money to come rush the passer and play defense, 40 snaps, 30 snaps a game.
Yeah. Yep.
Fucking cool with me, man.
Cool with Rich. And, you talk about coming here because teams want to play for a contending team, which is another difference in mindset that we as Browns fans have to get used to now. I don't want to say have to get used to is the wrong phrase because that makes it sound like it's a burden. Have the privilege of getting used to. And that's a perfect kind of segue. I want to talk about one more specific individual in terms of free agency. And we already talked about him, but I'm going to bring him up again because he's in the news, and it's my boy, old Rashard Higgins, right? So he signs the 1-year contract. Rich, we talked early on about the Browns bringing him back. They did. He signed another 1-year deal, so this is 2 years back-to-back now on 1-year deals. Both years, reportedly, turning down more money to play elsewhere to stay with the Browns. He had a couple really nice quotes because he was recently did that Zoom interview or Zoom conference call, whatever the fuck it was. He said, I definitely had other offers on the table, but this one was a no-brainer. And then again, he said it's like going to another team. How does that really benefit me? Obviously, for the money, you can say that, but the cap is down. So to go somewhere for another $1 million or another $2 million, then you start over with a whole other quarterback and you start over with a whole new playbook. It's just like, what in another team would you be looking for? He's stated multiple times about his comfort level with Baker Mayfield, his want to play in Cleveland, his admiration for the Browns fan base. And the guy, I think people look at Rashard Higgins and they say, well, he's not, he's not a fucking DeAndre Hopkins, or he's not a whoever. Insert high profile wide receiver name there. But if you take a look at his body of work and what he does with the Browns and how he's able to step up when he's called upon, this Browns team is his best fit. And I think Rashard knows that. And you look at, we talked about it with Jadeveon Clowney, players wanting to take less money to come play for the Browns because they're a contending team. I can't say it enough, man. Soak that juice in.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
It's so crazy. Like, maybe it's easier for you guys because you talk about the Browns every single week. But like the words that I'm hearing you say is just like, wait, we're talking Browns, like Cleveland Browns, like the team that went 1-31, 2 years ago. Rashard Higgins, I think his best spot is in Cleveland. I think he's one of those guys that goes to another team and then just kind of dies off. But with his chemistry with Baker or his familiarity with Cleveland, whatever the case may be, I mean, he's just way more valuable than $2.38 million, $2.48 million here. But he keeps taking these discounts to stay. And I think it's the best thing for him. And obviously it's the best thing for the Browns. I mean, we don't need him to be DeAndre Hopkins. It's not who he is. We don't need that at all. We have OBJ and Jarvis Landry, right? So, how many receptions did he have? 20 or 30 for 599 yards, something in that, like it was crazy yards per catch. So, yeah, it just it's so surreal to be like a Cleveland sports fan and to hear these things being said about the Cleveland Browns. Like, I want to stay here. I'm turning down more money to stay here. It's just absolutely mind-boggling.
Well, we're getting it from regular like all players now. Before it was guys like Josh Cribbs and, I guess Joe Thomas. He doesn't really fall into that group as much, but like the fan favorite guys would always come out and say those things. That's how the Cleveland Gets Us meter fucking showed up. And I'm glad that it doesn't fucking matter anymore as far as I'm concerned. I said it on our last episode when we talked about Higgins is he's not Higgins anywhere else. I think he goes somewhere else. He's just a dude. I mean, look, and I'm not understand this. I appreciate what he does on the field and I'm not shitting on him, but you're not overly fast. You don't run the cleanest routes. You do have some good hands and you catch the fucking football when it's thrown to you. And that's the ticket in fucking Cleveland. It's a perfect fucking marriage, man. It's a perfect situation. This is where a player is self-aware enough to know when he is a good fit where he's at, and don't fucking kick over the apple cart because you want to show everybody that your dick's bigger in terms of a contract.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This is a smart money move, a smart player move. There's nothing to dislike about it. It's goddamn perfect. And he knows, and look, you're getting a guy that's hungry. He wants more money. He's going to get pushed by Peoples-Jones. He may even get pushed by Kadarius Hodge, who I don't really care about all that much. Fuck, he might get pressed by a rookie. Don't be surprised if we take somebody in the second or third round that's a fucking receiver. I mean, that's on the table too. It's a good fucking deal. I don't care about, the fucking Cleveland have the best fans, like we know already. Like, we don't need to hear it anymore. Like, it's obvious, period. Cleveland fans are chaotic as shit on social media. We're a bunch of psychopaths, and we're loud as shit come game day. Perfect fucking marriage, man. I'm happy about it. It doesn't make or break anything. It's not, I don't consider it like a big point in the off season. Like, if Higgins wasn't here, I don't think our off season changes very much, but I am glad he's here, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I see. I mean, I probably will weight it a little heavier than you're weighting it, and that's fine. Just a difference in opinion on that. And I do to steal a Carmen-ism, I guess. I don't know. They do the I have a theory, right? I do have a theory with Richard and his 1-year deals. I think he knows that there is a decision to be made after this season on the Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, who's going to be here thing. And I think he sees an opportunity for him to showcase more of his ability with the Cleveland Browns and how his fit is here, and maybe work himself into a number 2 role and a more lucrative, lengthier contract with the team. So again, betting on himself, and I think he has all the potential to do that for sure.
I could see it.
I think you just nailed that right there.
Nailed it. Yeah, guys. Hey, those are the only 2 people specifically we're going to talk about with free agency today. I do want to kind of do the cliche. We're going to summarize free agency and we're going to grade it. And I'm going to force you fuckers to give me a letter grade because why not? Hell. Entering free agency, we kind of knew, based on the guardrails, the Browns guardrails that we've talked about for the last month, how Andrew Berry and company were probably going to navigate the waters here in free agency. I think they've pretty much stuck to their guns and what they want to do. They did sign a couple guys who were north of the 30-year mark, but you didn't see it. You didn't see any, 34, 35, 36-year-old signings, which we've seen quite a few of in the past Browns regimes, coming here to collect a paycheck and wear Hawaiian shirts and sail off into the sunset. So Andrew Berry, again, recently spoke, and I'm going to quote him because I think he kind of summed it up best. So he says, the general mindset entering free agency any year is to try to be opportunistic and address and improve all areas of the roster. I think we're in a position and had enough flexibility from a cap perspective where if we felt a player who was aligned with our needs and skill set match and scheme, that they were essentially going to go aggressively attack that player. He did kind of cite being, the players being smart, tough, accountable, young, durable. Couple of the durability and young categories, you might be able to say, I don't know if you really stuck to that with a couple of signings, but they're guardrails. Sometimes you go out of them a little bit, I guess, right? So he references being able to do that with John Johnson III, which is another player who supposedly took less money to come play for the Cleveland Browns. All in all, guys, I think the Browns had a pretty knock them down, drag them out offseason so far. Now, obviously, these things take time to come to fruition. We got to see how it plays out. But in terms of sticking to your guns, addressing needs, and getting guys in here that fit the mold of what you're trying to do here with the Cleveland Browns, I think they did that. I think they accomplished it. And I'm a pretty fucking tough ass in terms of grades, so I'm not going to give them an A, but I'll give them a B+ for sure. Rich, let's kick it over to you. What say ye?
I say you're an idiot. How do you not grade it a fucking A? Like, I mean, seriously,
I
look.
prefaced it by saying I'm a hard ass with grades. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but that's just being a dickhead guy grading just to be a dick. Like,
let me change it. I'm a dickhead. I give him a B+.
Dude, I mean, like, you have to give me some. All right, well, look, I'll get my shit out the way, and we'll end this with you after Jeremy's done. I want you to say what did they not do to cause it not to be an A?
I'm going to answer right now because it's quick. It's nothing they didn't do. It has to play like drafts. It has to play out. I'll never give an A grade in a draft either.
I mean, okay, I get where you're going with that. So Joe Woods wants to play a 4-2-5 defense, a safety down in the box, one safety single over the top, and another kind of the safety in the box is the rover, right? So the other safety, I think, is just gonna. I don't know. I'm curious to see how they set it up, but they had a need. They identified it and attacked it. All right, at the safety position.
Yeah, they did.
They identified a guy coming off his rookie contract. A guy that was, and why he didn't come up in our podcast is he was considered the best safety in the free agent.
Yeah, I don't know. We missed that one.
Well, they had him scheduled $18 million a year. Like, that's where they ballparked his contract. And that goes into another reason why this free agent group was an A. It's a solid A. If they signed Jadeveon Clowney, it's a fucking A+. And you know how I feel about Jadeveon Clowney. We just fucking talked about it. It's not a big deal, but it sends a message to the rest of the league and players specifically. But they had a need at safety. They fucking addressed it. They had a need at corner. They addressed it and paired it with a safety that was already known in terms of communication and shit like that. And I think he was a top 3 rated slot corner. He's not an outside corner. He's a slot corner, and he was damn good at it. They replaced Olivier Vernon and Adrian Claiborne with Tack McKinley. It was a need. They addressed it. They got it. They signed some guys that were already familiar, that are somewhat vets. With Porter Gustin, I got to name him, or Josh will get pissed. But what's his face? The linebacker. What the fuck's his name?
Malcolm Smith.
Yes, Malcolm Smith. They re-signed him. They re-signed Higgins. Don't be surprised if B.J. Goodson is here before this is all said and done.
You said that last week. Yep.
But I'm telling you, it was the idea of free agency should be to finish your team, in at least in position groups, and to make it so you have the least amount of needs going into the draft. You don't want to be needy in the draft, which we've seen over the years. We were needy and we drafted like shit. And I think the effect our free agency has now on our draft, I think that's exclusively why I'm giving it an A, is because this free agent group set us up in the draft to be in a really, really good spot.
That is a good point.
Sorry, my dog's kind of going crazy there. No, I'm going to stick with Josh on this one, and I'm going to go with a B. A flat B. And that's not so I'm breaking it down. Like, if we judge it based on, going into free agency and not just blowing a bunch of cash, right? And then filling up the roster to eliminate needs going into the draft, it's an A+. But for me, I think safety, linebacker, and defensive end, defensive line were my big circles, right? They go out, they get the best safety on the board, one that we didn't think we were going to get because he was the best safety on the board. Linebacker, Anthony Walker, to me, is just like a slightly better version of B.J. Goodson. You bring back Malcolm Smith to play kind of a depth role, which is fine. And then Tack McKinley, but you lost Ogunjobi, you lost Vernon, and you lost Claiborne on the defensive line. So I really don't think we got better, even with signing Malik Jackson. I think, if he was Malik Jackson coming out of Denver before he goes off to Jacksonville and Philadelphia, I believe, then that's saying something. I think we got a little bit weaker on the defensive line. I'm not saying that we're terrible, and I think we'll draft there early and often, but I'm going to give it a B. I'm not worried about the offensive side at all. I'd like to see a Teller extension come up here shortly. I know you guys have been pushing for that.
Yeah, sooner than later. Please.
Yeah. So I'm going to give it – I love how they assembled it. I love that they didn't overpay. Like, for instance, J.J. Watt. Obviously, we didn't meet the money, which I'm good with. And they're kind of setting their market. Like, okay, your market might be here, but to come play for a contender, we're going to pay you this. Take it or leave it. And I love that approach to it. And I think they did a really solid job. If they were to address a little bit more on the defensive line, maybe get a couple more filler guys at the end, Jadeveon Clowney, I think, would raise it up to an A, just because it fills a little bit more of the gap. I think even Vincent Taylor that we lost.
Yeah, he left too.
Yeah, he left. He came up pretty big for us in the last few games of the year. So I just think our depth is hurting a little bit on the defensive line. So I'm going to stick with a solid B.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. It can easily work itself to an A. Like I said, I'm an asshole. So we're going to go B+.
A for asshole.
Hey, baby.
Well, look, man, the one thing with the D-line, though, I mean, yeah, you lost some pieces, but now Jordan Elliott's able to play. You're getting Billings back as well.
Billings, the forgotten guy, man.
Forgot about Billings, yeah.
Yeah. So, and look, I think, edge is one of the 5 positions that every team should draft at least one guy every year.
Yeah.
Period. Yeah.
And the Browns will. Make no mistake.
We'll probably take 2. One of them will be a linebacker that we're going to convert. Something along those lines where we're going to make him put his hand in the dirt. Looking at the the grading, like we don't grade kids' papers and say, well, I got to hold out on his letter grade. I'm going to give him a B because I want to see if he's going to turn into a brain surgeon or a fucking janitor.
They fucking should.
But you know what I'm saying? Like for what the needs were, what the market turned out to be, like let's keep that in perspective too. Some of these guys were getting some serious fucking money where I'm like, you're not worth that money. And how are you getting this coming off a pandemic season? Like these teams that signed you to this money are willingly handcuffing. They're marrying themselves to this player through the pandemic and the increases. And with our contracts, we didn't marry anyone for more than 2 years. Like even J3's fucking contract, we could essentially walk away from it after year 2.
Yeah.
And be done. So we're keeping that flexibility and getting quality play. I mean, we got him to take what, like $7 million less? He's getting paid 11 roughly here.
It's not even that big of a cap hit. Like I think
it's like a 3 million, 3.5 or some shit like that of a cap hit. I mean, like if you take everything into account, yes, would we have liked more? I would have liked one of the fucking like decent linebackers, but this front office doesn't give a dick about linebackers. Like they don't care. They're just like dudes in the middle of the field. So when I get to the shit like that, I'm looking at it like the money is all right, the year's right. You're not married to anybody for long periods of time. You didn't sign some fucking Dwayne Bowe ass dude to fucking kick it and hang out on the sideline. And we're walking into the draft like, okay, yeah, we need another outside corner, or we could use an outside corner. We could use another linebacker and some edge help, or even interior D line. We need a backup nose, really, because Sheldon Richardson is good. Don't get me wrong, but we need to give him a breather, even though he's at the 3. We've got a bunch of pieces to fucking move around. And after all said and done, man, I love the way our free agency like kind of built itself out.
Yeah, it's fair. All fair points, and I can see an A. Hell, most pundits have given the Browns an A for their offseason. Actually, I don't think I've seen anything other than A's, to be honest with you, although I haven't dug really deep into everyone.
No, you guys are just getting greedy now.
Yeah. Look, again, I'm an asshole.
As long as he comes back, I'm good with being greedy.
Right.
That was good.
It was.
Thank you.
It was, man. It was a good off season so far, and hell, we're only what 2 weeks into it, so there's probably more to come here before the draft. I wouldn't say a bunch more, but maybe Jadeveon Clowney, maybe a couple other filler pieces, and then here soon we're gonna get to talk about the draft. So, again, Rich, I think it's all fair points you made. So, I think letter grades aside, we can all agree that they had a damn good offseason to date, and it adds to that excitement rolling into this new season. So more to come on that, gentlemen. Right now, we're going to go around the NFL a little bit, and we're going to lead with some Browns talk, exiting Browns talk, entering more Browns talk, and around the NFL. Adam Rank via NFL.com put out a article about the best rivalries, going into the 2021 NFL season. Guess who was on that list, Rich and Jeremy? That would be the Browns versus Steelers. What did Adam have to say about this? I'll quote him right now. The Steelers have played some epic games against the Ravens over the years, no doubt about it. Pittsburgh even swept Baltimore last season on the way to an AFC North title. But lately, it feels like the Steelers' games versus the Browns have become more of a blood feud. I love that phrase. Love it. The Steelers won the division thanks to an 11-0 start to the season, but Pittsburgh lost 4 of their last 5 regular season bouts. And then the Browns embarrassed them with a 48-37 wildcard weekend shellacking that wasn't as close as the final score indicated. This feels like the Browns' time to really take control of the AFC North rivalry. Like, if this were Mortal Kombat, the game would be yelling, "Finish him!" I liked it, obviously, because he was stroking the Browns off. Anytime a fucking writer strokes the Browns off, I'm a fan. I'll be all over it. But I also think there is truth to that. Now, I'm going to go a little bit further and say that my hope is that there still isn't a rivalry. So it was always one-sided. You could argue that there wasn't a rivalry because the Steelers kicked the Browns' ass for so long. People argued, hey, it's not a rivalry. You're getting your ass kicked every year. Those of us who grew up with it still counted it as a rivalry because it was the Browns-Steelers. I'm going to go as far as to say as the non-rivalry will continue because we are going to do the ass-kicking from here on out against the Steelers. Of course, I will still take it as a rivalry. Jeremy, Where do you stand on the Browns versus Steelers rivalry, and do you think it is due for a ramp up here going into the 2021 season?
I mean, didn't we just go through the ramp up? I mean, I think it's
At the
right
end of last year,
right. Like, I mean, I don't know how much more ramping up from there you can go, but yeah, I'm all in on fucking hating the Steelers again, like 100%, like more than I ever have. I'm good. Let's go. I'll fight one right now. I'll fight DJ Andrew Smith right now. Let's go. Let's do it.
I love it. Look, I think it'll be a rivalry because we have to show that we're the dominant team. So, like, you had no rivalry but a rivalry for like 20 years. And thankfully, we play them twice a year. So I think you got 3 years where it's a rivalry, where we're kind of getting our stride back from them. We're taking the energy back for a couple, 3 years. And then if it continues where we're just stepping on their dicks for them, well, then it goes back to not being a rivalry anymore. Like, you have to have competing victories to have a rivalry.
Yeah.
It's not, it's not a rivalry when you're just kicking the shit out of the same guy all the time. Like, then people stop caring. Nobody gives a shit anymore. And I don't think Baltimore is going to affect that rivalry because I'm telling you, there's just something icky about Baltimore.
Icky.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't trust Lamar Jackson. I don't give a shit how athletic and ridiculous he is. But I think they had an article coming out where they're going to line up in shotgun and let Ben just chuck the ball around. Like, they're basically coming out saying this is Ben's last year and we're going to take it right on the chin. But we're going to let our
25 interceptions this year for Ben.
Dude, they're going to let their Hall of Fame quarterback, fucking Frank Sinatra, his last season. I'm going to go do it my way. They're going to sign no fucking running back because I don't think they have one right now.
Yeah, because Connor left, right?
Connor, who gives it? He was never good. He had a great story, but like production on the field was just poop. Yeah, I think we got a handful of years with Pittsburgh where it's considered a rivalry because we haven't won in so fucking long, at least consistently. But last season was a really nice leg up on it.
Yeah, I agree. And I hope, listen, there's a certain disservice that's done when the Browns or when any team beats another team like the Browns did in the playoff victory, because even though realistic people will look at it and say, hey, those types of games don't come around often, in a chunk of the Browns fan base minds, that bar is now like 37 feet fucking high. And all the games aren't going to be that way, and hell, I mean, there's nothing saying that Pittsburgh won't beat us next year, depending on what happens. But I fully expect the Browns to compete, and being Ben's last year, like you said, what a better way to send him off than going out and fucking giving them 2 good ass whoopings. And you know what? Hell, I hope they make the playoffs again and we get another year to be able to whoop their ass again. That would be fantastic, to send him off crying into the sunset, like he did on the bench there at the end of that.
Dude, look, real quick
game. So
that's messed up that you brought that up.
Oh,
that is going. That picture of the close up of Ben with a tear in his eye is going to be the first ever Pittsburgh centered anything that's going to go up in my office at work. I'm framing that picture blown up. I'm going to get it as high res as I possibly fucking can. I want to see the molecules in the fucking tear on his goddamn cheek. And I'm putting it up in my office next to Myles Garrett beating Mason Rudolph with a fucking helmet.
Yep.
That is one of that. Look, I'm going to have that bitch etched on my fucking headstone when I die. That is one of the greatest fucking moments of my Browns fandom, is watching the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback, who is just fucking bitch slapped us for forever. Seeing him sit on this fucking bench by himself, and his quarterback's like, or his center comes up sitting next to him. He's like, I fucked up that snap and it was all my fault and I'm fucking retired. And Ben starts crying because there's going to be a new stiff that's going to get his ass kicked every goddamn fucking Sunday. But yeah, I got to have that picture up in my wall of fame at work because it brings me great joy.
I agree. It's going up. It's going up in the bar for sure.
So real quick, Rich and Josh, I know you guys have like accentuated like the talent leaving the AFC North, but how fucking clutch is it that Juju Smith-Schuster went back to the fucking Steelers over the Chiefs and the Ravens? Like, that's just clutch. Thank you, Juju.
Love it.
Yeah, because he's okay.
He's all right.
he's aight. Like if he was anywhere else, he wouldn't be. No one would give a shit about Captain fucking TikTok Corvette these nuts. But because they chuck the ball all over the fucking place in Pittsburgh, like that's why he gets numbers. You know what I'm saying? Like Pittsburgh made Hines Ward good, and all he was a good blocking receiver. Outside of that, that dude can go fuck himself. But I keep Juju in Pittsburgh forever. I want to see his reaction to the dick stomping that we give him every Sunday going forward. Well, fuck that dude.
What's the league being, driven to over the last decade? A passing game, right?
Oh yeah, it's fucking.
What do the Steelers not have?
A running
game. What are the Browns doing this year? They're bolstering I said Wilkes again. God damn it, Woods.
You love fucking Wilkes.
Woods' defense with the 4-2-5, which is going to be what? It's going to be geared at shutting down the passing game. They know where this league's going. It is there, and that's not to mitigate the. Or negate, I should say, not mitigate the running game, because I am a huge fan of the running game. We saw what it could do for the Browns here. But yeah, you're right, man. I think Smith-Schuster's got a fucking another thing coming this season, especially from the Browns. It's gonna be fun, man. I can't wait for this shit to start up, dude.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting.
So long. All right, off of the Browns. Let's go off the Browns for a minute. We're gonna get into some other NFL news. I want to talk specifically about some of the points of interest that are going around with the league. One is the penalties. That's always a topic of discussion. And I'm going to cite probably one of the most hated football players, at least from a Browns perspective, of all time, and that's Ray Lewis. So he was asked about the penalties and the offensive direction that the league's headed in or is in. And he said, it's a league that makes it hard to watch from a defensive player's perspective. The art of why the game started, tackling, the big hit, the change in course of the game, changing the way players from an offensive side think about the defensive side when you go attack Dick Buttkiss or Mike Singletary, Lewis said, adding, the essence of the game is leaving. I personally have... Part of me understands what he's saying. Yes, the game is not what it was 20 years ago. But I also, in the same breath, I'm not going to say the essence of the game is leaving, because here's the essence of the game: entertainment. That's the essence of the game, and the entertainment value has shifted over the years because we want to see more scoring. We want excitement. We need the immediate gratification now. And again, that's not to say I don't like to grind them into the fucking dirt by running it down their throat all game, because that shit gets me off too. But I think he's kind of 50-50 right with this. Where do you guys stand on the game in terms of how it is now? And is there any merit to what Lewis is saying? Rich, let's kick it over to you real quick.
I don't give a fuck what Ray Lewis says.
Well, I knew that was coming.
He can go whatever. No, I understand it. It's hard for defenses anymore, man. Yeah, everybody wants to see more scoring, but you're like diluting the game. We're never going to see what we saw in the Super Bowl is as close as you're ever going to see to an elite defense ever again at the rate that the game is going. An elite defense is just going to be consistent it's going to consist of just quarterback sacks and interceptions. Like there's no place right now for a stat in the NFL, which is like teams that tackle well, or you know what I'm saying. Like the game is being set up for the offenses to be more successful, and it's going to be really, really hard to be an exceptional, by long-term NFL standards, an exceptional defense. I don't know. Adapt and overcome, man. I don't know what the fuck else to tell you. I love watching games that are fucking 6-3. Like I'm a weirdo. You know what I'm saying? And yes, I like watching games that are 54-48 too.
Right.
I just like the game of football. The outcome of the individual games is irrelevant to me. But it's pretty fucking hard to play defense. I mean, if you're one of those people that like you said, Josh, running the game and just running the ball up someone's ass, well then go watch high school football. That's for you.
Yeah, you'll get
That's
there.
what you want to see. But if you want like the entertainment value of it, and all the other shit, then, go watch the NFL. But if you're looking for the integrity of the game and the commitment to the game and things like that, high school football is for you. But past that, we're going there. Nobody watches college football for the integrity of the game. Like, nobody gives a fuck. Pete Carroll didn't give a shit. Reggie Bush didn't give a shit. What else do you need me to say here? So if you are a football purist, go watch high school football. If you're in it for the entertainment value, well, then we got your college and NFL. But fuck Ray Lewis. Anyway.
Yeah. The comments don't really make much sense to me.
It didn't need me either, but I read it how it was wrote. So.
Sure. So let's think back on this. Let's think of this in like another perspective outside of just specifically football. Apple. What do you think of when you think of the company Apple? You think iPhones, right? iPads, computers, that fun stuff. They started off making little boards for computers, like just a little bit of the operating system. Biggest company, one of the biggest companies in the world. Tesla, they're like, hey, we don't need gasoline. We're going to start making electric cars. One of the biggest companies in the world. Amazon started off as an online bookstore. One of the biggest companies in the world. The NFL is the biggest sports business in the world. And you see these things like the elitists, right? Like it started off as a run first, then they had to invent the forward pass. And then now it's kind of blossomed and adapted over time. Like Rich said, to become one of the biggest money-making sports industries in all of the world. And then you look at baseball, right? Like Major League Baseball, they're not adapting and it's dying. It's dying fast. So the players in the NFL are making more than they've ever made. TV ratings are up. I mean, everyone's making more money than they've ever made. So, okay, so the essence of the game is leaving. That doesn't make any sense because it's still football. It's just adapting and overcoming and just securing the security in the future for everyone that's involved with the game. It makes no sense because Ray Lewis, I'm sure, doesn't want to go out there and risk his life and limb or kill people for $50,000 a year like they did in the past, right? So it is what it is. I mean, I think the NFL has done a great job of adapting and becoming, what they are today, because they could be just like Major League Baseball is and dying and losing fans. Like the average fan age in Major League Baseball is getting 2 years older every single year. So not only are they not capturing younger fans, they're actually losing some of their older fans for it to just get 2 years older each 1 year. It's just crazy. So it is what it is. But as far as the business aspect of it, I don't know if the NFL could have done it any better.
Yeah. No, they've had that model on lockdown in terms of securing the future of the game for sure and making it entertaining. And look, as much as we bitch about the league, again, like I said with the season tickets, I'll see you Sunday.
Yeah.
I'll see you Sunday.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, look, the other thing I noticed the difference since we kind of threw baseball into this, it's like football doesn't. They take the opinion of the gatekeepers, but it's not the fucking be all end all. Baseball seems to only care about the gatekeepers. The writers who think they're like the king of the fucking Hall of Fame. And the way they set their rules up, like it's, it has to be the same way forever. And it's like, well, then fix the baseball.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
fix the baseball.
Baseball is American politics. It's only the outdated white people that fucking control it.
Right. And when I say fix the baseball, whether that means put it back to the fucking home run derby years or keep it a mush ball, but I don't think the problem is the ball staying in the park anymore. I think it's just there's not enough action on the fucking bases to keep people interested. Move the mound back fucking 2 feet or some shit. You know what I'm saying? Like something of that nature needs to happen for baseball because, yes, we all like to watch no-hitters, right?
I do.
Right.
But
I enjoy it. I get a notification on my phone. It says so-and-so's through 6.5 innings, and I'm not a giant baseball fan. But if I see that so-and-so's through 6.5 innings on a no-hitter, I'm fucking finding the channel or I'm streaming it on my fucking phone and I'm watching it because it's cool shit.
Yeah.
But when I'm sitting on my deck watching a game in the summer, give me some 7-4 games.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's too many fucking strikeouts. They're not adapting to the game like the NFL. They're not playing like baseball is just staying put.
Yep.
And they've stayed put for like 150 years or some just absurd amount of time. And the NFL is like, our entire business model is based off of the fans, the people that we're playing this game for. So let's give them more of what they want. And baseball is just leaning towards the old fucking fuddy-duddies who are like, no, it needs to be this way. Don't flip the bat and show it excitement. Let's not even fucking market our players either while we're at it. Like, let's just fucking do nothing.
Yeah. You talk about the NFL continually doing things to change the game. We're gonna touch on one more quick topic with that, and that's the addition of a 17th game, which is likely to happen. Players are, I don't want to say split, but there is some side that says they don't really want it to go that route, and some that do. I think that they can make it work. I understand the rigors of an NFL season. I mean, obviously, I don't understand it as intimately as a football player would, but I do understand that it takes a toll on their bodies and their mental psyche. But I think they can shift some things around preseason wise and be able to get that 17th game in there. So I, as a fan, of course, am for an additional regular season game. What say ye, Jeremy? You for a 17th game or no?
Yeah, give me 20 games.
Yeah.
Honestly,
right?
Yeah, like, buddy. what are we getting? Like, and I think it was kind of exposed, and I think JC Treader kind of mentioned it during the season. What are we doing preseason games for? There were less injuries going into this year, right? Like than ever before. And did you think that there was bad football like at the beginning of the year, like really bad unwatchable football? No, it was fucking fantastic. So yeah, do 17, do 18, do 19, just get rid of the preseason. Like, and I understand that has ramifications for like the guys that are on the bubble, the guys that, are just fighting for an opportunity. I understand that, but to just make it that, just have B squad games, right? Like the Indians, like spring training. Sorry, I bring it up again because that's just what I'm familiar with. They'll have a spring training game and then they'll have a B game that no one knows about until after it's done. Just do those style games for those guys that you're wanting to see play against other football teams. I think the preseason is worthless. I think it's a crime that you charge season ticket holders such as yourselves to pay full price for that.
I hate it. I fucking hate it.
Like, how easy would that be to just be like, oh yeah, these two games are half price, like, or something. But yeah, give me 17 games, give me 18 games, and just eliminate the 4 preseason games. I think that's a fair kind of trade-off, and I don't think there'd be that many people that upset about it.
Yeah. Look, over the last handful of years, the NFL players have had less and less practice time. They're on the field less outside of the games.
Practice.
More so than they ever have been. Do away with all fucking preseason games. All of them. There's never been a story where a guy's like, man, I just never, I had all the talent in the world to make it in the NFL. I just never got my shot. If you have the talent, they will find you. You will be on an NFL team. You'll be on a practice squad at minimum if you're that good. Mm-hmm. I have a hard time believing that someone never made it ever. And I don't think we're going to shrink those chances by not playing fucking preseason games. We've seen guys in Cleveland go the fuck off in the preseason. Sometimes they ended up on the roster and they looked like shit. Sometimes they didn't end up on the roster and we never heard from them again. It's not that big of a fucking deal. One more game. I mean, give me all the football, but I don't see that you're taking away, 4 preseason games. Add 1 regular season game. And then potentially do kind of like baseball, have a play-in game for the playoffs instead of adding another game to the season. Have a playoff seeding of 8, and you have 2 to play out the 7 and 8 spot. 2 actually owns the 7 spot going into the playoffs the following season or some shit. If you want to add some more drama or whatever. I think the one more game is being subtracted by, like I said, less time on the field, less OTAs, less two-a-days, less all of that shit. All of that shit has been shrunk down. And we didn't see an effect on the game. There was none of it, essentially, last year. There's not none, but there was very, very little. And the game still played fine. Everybody loves football still. They signed a goddamn 10 gazillionaire fucking TV contract, for Christ's sake. Like, one more game on the end of the schedule and four less games in the beginning of it. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Move forward.
Feed me Seymour, for sure. All right, one more thing with the NFL before we get to our 5 and 5, and we got to talk about it again, man. We talked about it last week, but it's gotten worse, okay? And I want to get Jeremy's opinion on this. So we're gonna get into the Deshaun Watson stuff real quick again. So something that started off as one lawsuit filed on a Tuesday night has now snowballed into 16 lawsuits of alleged sexual misconduct by Watson during massage therapy sessions, all separate dates and locations. 2 of those lawsuits claim of actual sexual assault. This, I said last week, I mean, even if you discredit 90% of them, there's still something, right? Where there's smoke, there's fire. Something is going on here. In a time when Deshaun Watson was trying to get onto a new squad, forcing a trade, potentially would have, be the richest quarterback to date. I think he's all but pretty much cemented himself as not having that type of career anymore. That's for sure. I don't know where to go with this, man. You got one side saying the guy's an upstanding citizen. He does so much for his community. He's a good guy, he's a good teammate, good player, yada, yada, yada. Then all this comes out, and I can't turn away from it, man. I have to say there's something behind this. And, me and Rich talked about it last week. I said the guy could be a good citizen and a good player, but still be a fucking pervert. I mean, it could be that way. So I guess, like I said, Jeremy, I want to get your insight on this. What do you think about the Deshaun Watson saga as it unfolds here?
Yeah, like I heard you say, last week, where there's smoke, there's fire. And, sometimes when there's fire, there's fire. So yeah, there's something, I don't know what happened. Obviously it's a kind of icky situation for him. At this point, there's no way something somewhere didn't happen that maybe you shouldn't have done, and that you shouldn't do. It's just I'm glad that he's not in Cleveland. I'm glad that the people saying let's trade Baker Mayfield for Deshaun Watson, I'm glad we didn't do that, because it just gives me an icky feeling, man, and it's hard. Like, I know there's the argument like, oh, well, these people could be lying, but 16 of them, like there's truth coming somewhere in that situation. So yeah, I'm a hard pass on Deshaun Watson and all that's going on, and that's just super icky, man.
Icky.
Okay. Here we go. So there's 16 of them, right?
Yeah, as of now, 16. Yep.
Yeah, there's been no evidence produced in any of those situations to any of the police stations involved or investigations.
Well, the attorney says there is evidence that they're bringing forward.
Right, and the attorney says lots of things.
Well,
he says lots.
I'm just saying, all I can go by is what they're telling me.
So why not turn it over to law enforcement? Like, how does this?
Because of this, a criminal trial requires strong evidence of conviction. A civil trial does not require the same evidentiary burden that a criminal trial does. Okay, so a civil trial only maintains that the court has to determine that is more than likely that the plaintiff's claim is true. That's it. That's all. All right.
So we're going after him civilly, right?
Yes. Well,
okay.
Yeah, they are. Yes.
Yeah. So we're going after like we're not concerned about getting a criminal off the streets, a pervert off the streets. We're interested in getting into that guy's wallet, maybe to make him make a different decision. I'm not saying any of this didn't happen. My opinion doesn't mean shit in the matter. What I'm saying is I'm just making an argument for why this is potentially bullshit. All right.
Let me ask you this. Would it not, though, if he were to have to settle with 16 different civil cases, would it not essentially get a criminal off the streets because the spotlight would be on him, and if it ever did happen again, they would immediately come forward?
Understand this. Look, you know why usually when these situations come up, there's like 5 women, 6 women? It's because it didn't get to 15 before someone spoke up. What are the goddamn odds that this dude who is not some longtime NFL fucking
Ben
goat.
Roethlisberger. Oh,
But you know what I'm saying? Like, he's not some guy that's been in the long time in the NFL and he's got all this kind of backup to help him out, right? This kid's been in the league, what, 4 years? 3 years?
yeah, something. I think.
All right.
Yeah.
And with all of that, you know, and Jack Easterby down in fucking Houston is a goddamn what's that name of that cult that thought the fucking spaceships were coming down to take them and they were drinking
Jonestown or
whatever. No, it's like they drink Kool-Aid. The guy was a crazy-eyed son of a bitch. Like, yes, this feels icky, and I feel like it's just to shit on Deshaun Watson. I don't see how it gets to 16 women before the previous 15 didn't speak up. They're going after him civilly. There's no fucking evidence. They didn't turn it over to a police station to prosecute this fucking scum of society. We're specifically going after his wallet, and that's all it takes to ruin this dude's reputation for the rest of his fucking life.
Yeah.
Well, for the rest of his life is the accusation anymore. And look, this shit happens more than people care to fucking talk about. I mean, there's been countless college football players that have had their lives fucking ruined by a lie.
But how many? And I'm going to play devil's advocate here. But how many times has it happened exactly like this, where there's been cases that weren't reported because of fear, because of the stature of the individual or the evidence? You talk about evidence. There's not going to be any evidence unless they're recording in the room, which I don't think they can do by law. So it's word against word. The evidence doesn't really exist.
No, but what I'm driving at here is all it takes is these words. And he's fucked for life.
Oh yeah, it doesn't have to go any further.
It's fucking. Look, I'm telling you right now.
The damage is done.
Yes, and that's the part that bothers me. That's why I feel like if this was as serious and real, and the accusations were as real, you'd go after him criminally, and not what I'm saying is just financially. All right, there's no way it gets to this point with other women not speaking out prior to this. It just seems awful fucking convenient that he wants out of Houston. Houston doesn't want to trade him. Easterby's a fucking dirtbag and has caused all kinds of other shit. Look up his job. Go on Google and find out what Easterby really is, and it's going to blow your fucking mind. The lawyer of these women is a very close friend of people in the Houston Texans organization.
John Clune.
I'm telling you right now, this shit is just this stinks to high fucking heaven. And if Deshaun Watson had this, what do you think he kept it pent up while he was in college when he was the big swinging dick of the NCAA? Do you know what I'm saying? Like if you're this,
I don't think it has to do with that. I like I said,
no. But what I'm saying is, yeah, but you can be a pervert, but you don't just suddenly become a pervert when you're in the NFL. And what I'm saying is, the NFL teams dig into this shit pre-draft, and if he had tendencies of this shit, or it would have come out, or something would have come out prior to this, then this would make more sense. But this kid is fucking squeaky clean, and he's been squeaky clean, and then suddenly he wants out of Houston, and all this shit comes up. I don't know what I hope, because I hope it's not true, because I don't want to see anything bad happen to anybody, specifically the women. Like, I hope it didn't happen.
Yeah.
In general, but I don't know, man. The situation does feel icky altogether, but I think it's for different reasons for me.
It's a mess.
The court of public opinion is real fucking powerful.
Yeah, it's a bitch, man. And that's the part that bothers me. Like, yeah, I'm about the integrity of the situation. Like, I don't want to be first. I want to be right.
Yeah. Well, and it's like I said,
man,
it's my only contention.
It's so dirty.
There's a multiple huge base of women who have never come forward with things because of this type of exact instance, the stature of an individual, the hopeless feeling like I'm not going to be able to convict. There's nothing, I can't do anything. There's nothing I can do. So that alone leads me to believe there could be something here. And I'm not saying, I haven't made up my mind on Deshaun Watson yet. I think there is fire there to some degree. I don't know to what degree. I think there's something, but man, it's getting out of control real quick. So I doubt we'll ever really know the truth. I think I think these are all going to be settled out of court. I don't think anything is going to go to an actual civil trial or anything like that. But you're right, Rich.
No, some checks are going to be written.
Oh yeah, 100%, sure. But I do stand by my belief that this does actually get a criminal off the street. I'm not saying he's a criminal, but it it takes that to the level where they can feel a little bit of semblance of reciprocity there, of making whole to some degree, while knowing that
Right. The check will make them feel better.
well, money does. It does. I mean, I'm not gonna lie about that. It does. Look, money makes me feel better in a lot of ways. So I'm not
True. Yeah. I mean,
I'm not going to
get
take
it.
away from that. I guess what I'm saying is I do think you can accomplish a similar goal as a criminal conviction, similar, not the same, similar, by going the route they're going, because now that the spotlight's on them, if this shit ever does happen again, whoever that woman is, you know, if this is all true and it happens again, that woman now will be empowered to stand up immediately because all of this is out there. So, like I said, it is icky, and it always, you know, brings out good conversation because I think everyone has good points on it. Rich, you brought up good points. You know, I think we have good points when we talk about this. And you're right. If it is the other way, if these are all false allegations, there needs to be, and the other side of this needs to be brought to light, not just with Deshaun Watson, in general. The false allegations against guys, that when this happens, the other side should be punished accordingly as well. You know, we talk about being fair and have, you know, equality throughout. This is another instance where you can strive to have that equality. So, yeah, icky. It's been the word of the podcast, dude. Icky. It might just be the damn
Dude, it's
title.
gross all the way around. I hate
icky,
it.
Icky.
Yeah, no shit.
All right, let's move on from the NFL. We're going to do our 5 and 5 before we close. So our 5 and 5 this week are top 5 quarterbacks in our era. So our age group, the guys we grew up watching, we always go descending order. So we go 5 to 1. We're going to start with 5. I'm going to throw mine out, and then we'll go Rich, Jeremy. We'll keep that order throughout these 5. My number 5 would be one Russell Wilson. Why? Because there are some good damn quarterbacks on my list, and Russ had to get in there somewhere, so he's at number 5. Rich, who do you got at number 5?
My number 5 is Dan Marino. Because he's fucking look. I don't subscribe to the thought that you judge a quarterback by Super Bowls and shit. Dan Marino is one of the greatest throwers of a football I've ever seen.
I got to keep in mind, I think you're like 5 years older than me too, 4 or 5. So
yeah,
the eras might slightly skew a little bit.
Yeah, Dan Marino was the fucking cat's ass, man.
All right, my number 5. You got it. We're going Michael Vick. We're going
Nice.
Michael Vick.
I like that one actually.
I like it.
Not just because of Madden 05, but that has a big part to do with it. He changed a lot of, you know, quarterback style in the NFL. African-American quarterbacks, white quarterbacks, everyone needs to have a little bit of mobility now, right? Like, the pocket passer specifically is kind of a dying breed at this point, and Michael Vick had a lot to do with that. So I'm going Michael Vick.
And he could still sling that fucking football, man. That guy had a gun. Woo! All right, number 4 on my list is one of the biggest dickheads around. Aaron Rodgers makes the top 5 at number 4 on my list. Can't deny his ability. The guy is a fucking phenomenal elite quarterback. He has been his whole fucking career, sub maybe a year or two that he had a down year. But the guy's good, and it's kind of a shame he doesn't have more Super Bowls than what he has. But Aaron Rodgers at number 4 on my list. Rich, where are you with number 4?
So I got Russ at number 4, and it's just the way he plays the game, the way he executes the plays, some of the throws he makes, his ability to escape, throw from oddball fucking angles, which is also another reason why I picked the number 3 guy coming up. Russ is, I mean, look, you've heard us say it on the podcast. You just don't bet against Russ ever. I mean, he single-handedly has been dragging Seattle through some tough years.
All right. I've got Brett Favre at number 4, partially because the number matched up the spot. But I mean, what all do I have to say about Brett Favre, the gunslinger? There's not much else to say. I mean, he's just awesome.
It's Favre. It was him and Russell Wilson neck and neck for my number 5, and I ultimately went with Russ. I almost had Favre. Anyway.
Look, real quick, I had Favre at 5 or 6. I couldn't. He was my favorite guy to watch.
Yeah.
Like he's not my favorite. It was just I mean, how do you throw a ball 60 yards and it never actually got above 15 feet in the air? Like, what in the fuck?
Frozen fucking ropes. All right, number 3 on my list, I'm going with the guy who is probably number 3 on yours, Rich, Drew Brees. I think he revolutionized the game, especially for smaller statured quarterbacks. And the guy to have a career like he's had for the length that he's had, he is the epitome of what the NFL quarterbacks should be, were, are, to be, whatever. He is the guy that I would idolize as a young guy growing up in terms of being a quarterback. So Drew Brees, number 3.
Yeah, he's also in my number 3 spot. I don't care if he's been taking steroids for a long time. He's the weakest armed quarterback to suddenly learn how to throw really, really hard middle of his career. But he's deadly accurate. And he was just good, man. He just kept winning. I mean, he threw some picks, and made some bad decisions in games, but he's fucking awesome. I mean, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. What else do you need to say?
First ballot Hall of Famer and a clean sweep here at number 3 is Drew Brees. So
nice. I like it. Okay, we're into the juicy top 2. So my number 2, another guy that I think we all probably idolized growing up in terms of football players, Peyton Manning. I mean, the guy, if not the most intelligent football player to play the position of quarterback, he's second, and I don't know who you're putting first, but Manning is he's hyper intelligent when it comes to football knowledge. Peyton Manning, number 2, man.
Yeah, so this is where I think I'll be the only one in the mixing it up here. Is I've got Tom at number 2, Tom Brady at number 2, just because he's fucking Tom Brady. I don't like him. I like him more the last 3-4 years than I ever did at any other point. I mean, what else do you need to say? It's fucking Tom Brady. I mean, he's not the greatest. Like, he doesn't throw the greatest ball. He doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, but if you took everything that you needed, all the ingredients to make the world's most perfect quarterback, almost all those ingredients are coming from Tom Brady. And it's fucking Tom Brady is my number 2, man.
Tampa Tom is the best Tom Brady, right? But I have Peyton Manning at number 2. I mean, he was drafted in 98. I would have been 11 years old. So that was really when I was getting into football. Obviously no Browns that first year. It's definitely Peyton Manning. Just watching him throughout his career, just managing everything. I'm not even sure they had offensive coaches on the payroll. I'm not sure. Just absolutely fantastic quarterback. So.
Yep. Hail to the greatness, right? So number 1, obviously it's probably, it's Tom Brady. He's number 1. Look, Rich, I agree. I don't like him he's a dick, but so is Aaron Rodgers. He made my list as well. So Tom Brady, it's undeniable. And I think part of that hate comes from his greatness. Someone who is that good for that long, it's like, fuck you. What are you doing? Fuck you. What are you doing? Tom Brady. You can't deny the greatness there. You're right. He never had the strongest arm, but he had damn good accuracy when he needed to. He was another one, hyper intelligent with football knowledge, and just his ability to will teams and players to victories and championships. I mean, we'll never, sitting here at 30, about to be 36 years old, Rich, you're pushing 40 over there, Grandpa, right?
Yes, yep.
Sitting here at the ages we're sitting, we will never see another Tom Brady in our lifetime. It's not likely. So Tom Brady takes my numero uno spot. Rich, I'm guessing I know who you have at 1.
I've said it for years and years and years, and there's nothing that's happened that would change my mind. It's Peyton Manning. He is the greatest thrower of a football. He revolutionized the back shoulder throw. All right. You saw him back with, Marvin Harrison and some of these other guys over the years where he's just dropping the ball in a fucking bucket. Doesn't always look pretty.
In a basket.
But it always goes where it's supposed to go. And when you said the intelligence reasons, I mean, if you gave him the ball with 55 seconds left before the half, you may as well just don't even bother running your defense out there. They're probably going to score a touchdown, but they're at least getting a field goal. You can bet your ass on it. He'll handle the timeouts. He'll handle the play calls. He handles all of it. Like Jeremy said.
Omaha.
Yeah, right. And half the time, those were just bullshit words to fuck with the defense. The reason I would take Tom Brady is Peyton Manning is I'd save money on paying an offensive coordinator because I have him on the field already. He's the best fucking thrower of football I've ever seen. The most deadly accurate. And I would love to see if we could go to another universe and just swap him and Tom Brady out and to see if you end up with the same result. Because I'm saying if you put Peyton Manning, I keep switching these up here. If you put Peyton Manning in the Tom Brady situation, I'd be willing to venture a guess and say at least one more Super Bowl was won.
That's fair.
Manning got the shitty end of the stick in terms of like supporting cast. So did Tom Brady, but he almost always had a decent defense, and he had Bill Belichick.
So yeah, Tom Brady, number one on the list. There's something to be said about going at 43 years old, winning the Super Bowl. Obviously, big defense had a lot to do with that, but to never be the most talented guy at any point really in his career, right? Like, Michigan, he was okay. And then he comes into the league as a 6th round draft pick, like right after Spurgeon win.
Yeah, pick 199.
199. And this dude, just the amount of work that this guy has to put in is astounding. I mean, he's a winner, and winners win and losers lose, and he's just an absolute winner, no matter how you slice and dice it. And then if you want to really see, who the best quarterback is all time, go compare stats on 3rd down, where the games are made. You compare the stats on 3rd down, and it's not even really that close. It's Tom Brady by a mile.
Yeah. If you ain't first, you're last, right? So, hey, hopefully we have one of our own that's going to ascend their way into the upper echelon. I don't know if we'll ever make the top 5, but top 10, we'll see. We got time for let that one play out. So, guys, it was a great episode this week. Lots of good stuff in there. So we are to the end of it. We're going to get our plugs in now. So, again, we had Jeremy Lawless on from CLE TribeCast. You can find that podcast at mark1sports.com for sure. And you do got something to say about an event we got going on next weekend, right, Jeremy?
Yes. So next weekend, we're doing an Indians watch party on Saturday, April 3rd. We've got Chinese auction drink specials, Slim and Jumbos, and beautiful Garrettsville, Ohio is, the host bar, I guess, super gracious for them, allowing us to kind of come in. It's been a long year for them with all the pandemic and the COVID stuff. So now that we're able to finally start to get out and about a little bit, it's going to be a great time. Just tons of prizes to give away. We've got a signed Bradley Zimmer baseball bat. We've got other signed like Victor Martinez stuff, like nice. all this kind of stuff. And then our sponsor, I got to plug them, S&S Sports Factory. They are actually going to be live in-house, and they're going to do little auctions and razzes for stuff. I know that they're bringing a signed Joe Thomas helmet. There's a big canvas Jose Ramirez that's signed, a bunch of other stuff. Bunch of Ohio State Indians and Browns stuff they're bringing with them. So it's going to be a really, really fun time. And then if you haven't checked S&S Sports Factory out on Facebook, be sure to do so. In this past week, I've nabbed a 2-time Cy Young winner, Corey Kluber signed authentic batting helmet, and a Cleveland Browns football signed by Jedrick Wills and his predecessor, Mr. Joe Thomas. So
nice.
And the lines on those were, I think the spot for the football was like $13, and the spot that I won the batting helmet was like $21. So big value in those deals. So, but yeah, we're excited. Slim and Jumbos, April 3rd. Watch the Indians take down the Tigers. I'm gonna be drunk. You guys coming?
Yeah, I'll probably show up.
Yes,
yeah. Yeah.
Down there. So make sure and check out that's Slim and Jumbo. Slim and Jumbos. Yep. That's in Garrettsville, Ohio. Nice, quaint little town. My hometown. I live in Garrettsville. So that's my home bar. Come down to that. You're going to see all your favorite Mark I sports personalities down there. We should all be present and accounted for and lubricating our souls with the nectar of the gods. So
there's a rumor actually that Tabor's co-host might be a live reveal at the watch party as well.
Live reveal.
Oh boy.
Nice. When's that kick off? Noon, right? You said noon it kicks off?
Bar opens at noon. Game starts at 1:10. Yeah, whenever you want to come down, grab a seat. They have TVs everywhere, so not so worried about people getting a good spot. But if you want to pick your spot and start getting liquored up with the rest of us,
yes,
12
sir.
o'clock would be
All
great.
Right. Be there at noon, folks. We'll see you there. So that ends our episode this week, as we do every episode. Brother Rich over there gets to lead us out with some words of wisdom.
Don't hinge your off season on whether we sign Clowney or not. That's really all I got, man. Some people are gonna fucking have if we don't sign him, it's gonna be blah! And the fucking, this guy, a bunch of Chicken Littles running all over Twitter. We don't need him. It doesn't make or break anything. It would just make some things a little bit easier. So just wait on that news. I don't expect to see anything outside of that. Other than maybe a Teller extension that I'd like to have. Wait for news this week and take some time away. Because I think next week we're going to start discussing the fucking draft and getting into that. And that's a goddamn workout.
Yeah,
especially because I haven't really paid much attention because we have a quarterback. I mean, let's be real here. What we do know, the Browns are talking to literally almost every single corner in the draft. And they've even talked to a couple of linebackers. So, holy shit. But yeah, just wait for that Clowney news. It's not make or break anything. It'd be a nice to have, but not a need. And just wait on the nice weather. I would so much rather be golfing after this today. Like, God damn it, dude.
Yeah.
Jeremy, thanks for joining us, man.
Anytime, man. Thanks for having me on and plugging our stuff.
Go Browns, baby.
Go Browns.